Well, your album Face to Face with KT Tunstall is out now, and I will put a purchasing link just below this video. My first question has to be, what has brought about this collaboration?
These things happen, but they're meant to happen. I think everything happens for a reason. We met each other briefly at a big Elvis extravaganza, and
Hmm.
how BBC had put that on. I was a fan. I didn't know she was a fan, and I was watching the rough cut of Suzi Q, my documentary, and there she was talking about me, and I went, "Oh." So we had a mutual friend who did the footage for Shine a Light, and he contacted her. She contacted me. I went to London. We had a little lunch, a little talk. She asked me to write a song with her. So she sent me a riff, little lick.
Yeah.
I did that. Then I sent her something. We did that. And then we kind of realized something's going on here.
Uh-huh.
Something's going on. So we were both fans of each other. So, that was in the air too. And I invited her down to the house. She spent 3 nights here. We went on the front carpet there where I do all my writing, barefoot, paraphernalia around. We started to talk and we started to write, and it just flowed. We got closer and closer, deeper and deeper. And what you're hearing on the album is the journey that we took, the journeys we've taken in our lives,
Hmm.
but also the journey we've taken with each other, which
Yeah.
is quite special.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a beautiful album as well. I must admit, I love Face to Face, Shine a Light. The more funkier Scars is an interesting one. Ladies' Room is an intriguing number for me. I wonder if you could say anything about that.
I love it. Ladies Room is the fun piece on the album. And we just wanted to go into that sacred space. Oh, just go to the toilet. Yeah, I'll go with you. Everything happens in the ladies' room.
Yeah.
Everything. Everything. And I love it. I love some of the lines we said, your secrets are safe. Ha ha ha. Are they? But it is a real ladies' space. And
Yeah.
you do not know what goes on. You got a little glimpse from the song, a little glimpse into it.
Yeah. It was a fascinating song anyway, but this record, you talk about it, it's about that journey. I think it seems to address themes of love and loss and things like that. How cathartic was it to actually make this record for you?
I think for both of us, we talked about this. We sure got a lot out of it. Um, I'm a communicator. She's a communicator. We're both artists, and
Mhm.
we're both kind of very serious and passionate about what we do. There was one main difference, which we both talked about. We shared this lesson. I'm an in the fire girl.
Right.
I walk through the fire. That's my nature. I'll burn and I'll keep going. She observes the fire.
Okay.
So I pulled her into the fire, and she pulled me out of the fire. So we traded this. It was quite something. I found it very, very, very useful way to write. We went, whatever subject we were talking about, we dove in. And little by little, we let ourselves be vulnerable to each other, which is what everybody's hearing. And that's quite a blessing when you can do that. You had to trust each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was sometimes, a couple of times, she said it in an interview. I think it was If I Come Home. We were talking about childhood demons and how we all have them. Everybody has things they have to recover from, and not in necessarily a bad way, but we all carry this with us, the
Yeah.
baggage.
Hmm.
And I said we need. And she was telling me hers. I said we need to write this. She went no, and she walked out, made some tea, didn't come. She came back in, and she went okay. So we wrote the song. She said that was the hardest one emotionally for her to write, but it's really important, really important. When we got done, because I pulled it, then I said, "You're doing this with me. We're going this distance." She actually went, hmm. I said, "What's the matter?" She said, "I love the song. I hate that you made me write it with you." I said, "Good." So that's the kind of things we did. But that was the hardest one for her. I don't know which one's the hardest one for me. I'm that kind of person anyway. Like I said, I go on the fire.
Yeah. Well, Shine a Light was the single, wasn't it? That was the first one out. What does that song mean to you exactly?
It's so uplifting.
Yeah.
I cry when I hear that song. I actually cry many times. It's means something to me. Opportunity knocked on my door. I chose to let it in. I had to fight to win. It's just so much my life. And hers too. I'm just talking about it, what it means to me personally. Um, we talked about fame and how people say things to you like, "Oh, you're normal." What does that mean? What's normal? Um, and they're looking once you've had success to see if you've changed. We talked about that. And actually, it's not you that changes, it's the people around you that change.
Mhm.
And we talked about that everybody has a light. Everybody does, and you should find it. Find the light, let it shine. Don't let anybody switch it off. Shine a light on me or let me be. It's such a important message in this song.
Yeah.
And people are taking it as that, it's uplifting.
It is, yeah. I mean, I often get sent albums to review as MP3 files, but occasionally with an album like this, I think I must get a physical copy of this one because I enjoyed it so much. I shall be ordering probably the CD version of that as soon as we're done with this interview. And I would urge you to do the same. There is the purchasing link just below this video. If I may, Suzi, I'd like to go back a bit. You formed a group called Cradle. Which was very much about long improvised jams. I was wondering if there's any live tapes of those shows, and wasn't there a concept album that you were trying to thrash out with Cradle? What happened to that?
I know that my sister Patty
Hmm.
has put out a CD of the Pleasure Seekers and a CD of Cradle. So yes, our CD's available. Yeah, the Pleasure Seekers were a show band. Cradle became serious. We wrote our own stuff and it was concept. Yeah, I wasn't as happy in that band. I was more happy in the show band, but it was an interesting time. I was able, because I was put in the background a little bit after being the complete front person in the Pleasure Seekers, because my younger sister came in and she was going to be the singer then for a while. She's a great singer. And I became, during that 18 months of being a little bit in the background, a really good bass player. So it had really good usage to me, but I wasn't as happy in that band. But there was some interesting things that we did. Absolutely. And it is available on CD.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to have a good old route around for that then. You got to jam with Jefferson Airplane, am I right?
Yes, we did. In fact, Mountains too. We used to support a lot of the bands in Detroit, a lot of the big ones
Yeah,
when
yeah,
they came through, and they came to the house
yeah.
after the gig, and we had it set up in the garage. My dad left his car out in the horrible Detroit weather so we could use it as a rehearsal space.
Uh-huh.
We went in the garage. It was about 3 a.m, and we were jamming.
Yeah.
And my father heard the noise and came out in his boxer shorts and a sleeveless vest. I was going, my street cred had been out the window. And he went, "What's this noise?" And we said, "Oh, Dad, this is the Jefferson Airplane." He went, "Okay." And he came and sat down on the organ. And he
All
said,
right.
"Do you guys know B flat blues?" I'm going, "Oh my God." And they jammed.
Yeah.
So he played that and he went, "Now, good night, keep it down." What a great dad to have, eh?
How did you find Grace Slick? What was she like to get along with?
She didn't come. This was without Grace Slick.
Okay.
I would have liked, actually, she wasn't. What am I talking about? She didn't come to the house.
Okay.
Just the boys came.
Okay. Okay. Um, you're usually associated with the glam rock scene, in the UK. But how aware were you of the progressive rock scene that ran parallel to that? And do you have any thoughts on that music, sort of like Yes, Genesis, Pink Floyd, all that stuff that was going on at the time?
Well, I was when I was listening to it. Every band, especially in that era,
Huh.
took their own little path.
Yeah.
They all did. They were excellent, those bands. I loved all. I used to listen to all that kind of stuff. I listened to everything. Um, I, and Mike Chapman has said this on my documentary. I was not glam.
Okay.
Listen, I was rock and roll.
Hmm.
But because I started having hits in the glam era,
Hmm.
I am lumped in with them. I had no makeup on. I had a plain black leather suit and based in rock. But I get confused in that era. But I was more rock and roll. But it was a good era that you knew everybody's name and the bands and all that. And I always say it was the last great era for musicians who came up learning their craft when you had to play the gigs.
Yeah.
So I used to do 5 sets a night in the Pleasure Seekers,
Hmm.
45 on, 15 off. That's how you learn your craft. It was a great era for real musicians.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think about your look. Was your look at all inspired by that Elvis Presley comeback special? He did around about 68.
Only
And
completely.
How much of an influence did you actually turn down the chance to meet Elvis?
I did. I'll give you that briefly because it's quite a story, and I'm on Sun Records now. Excuse me. That completes the cycle. This album is on Sun Records, so I saw him at 5.5 on TV, and I made up my mind at 5.5. My little brain said, "I'm going to do that." Absolute truth. I'm going to do that. He was on TV. Then the comeback special. I'd been in bands for 4 years by then, and I decided leather would be my thing.
Yeah.
Then Mickey came to see me in Cradle. I
Okay.
was in the back. Mickey Most. I got up and I did only 2 songs. One of them was Jailhouse Rock. Mickey signed me as a solo artist. 2000, not 1973, we made my first album and I recorded All Shook Up, my version. Went to America, back home with my English band, 74. I was in Memphis. All Shook Up was released and the phone rang and it was Elvis's people. And then they put Elvis on the phone.
Wow.
So I nearly died. And he said, "I think your version is the best since my own. I'd like to invite you to Graceland while you're here." And I said no, because I wasn't quite ready to meet him yet. Wasn't quite ready. And I did the right thing because he's been spiritually with me my whole life. 1977, I flew from Japan to LA to audition. They wanted me to try out for the part for Happy Days, Leather Tuscadero. I met everybody, did the reading, and they said, "Go back to your hotel. We're going to discuss you." I went back to the hotel, switched on the TV, waited by the phone. The phone rang. "We want you for 3 seasons, 15 episodes." Fantastic. On the TV at that exact moment that I took the phone call, it said, "Newsflash, the king is dead.
Yeah.
You can't write this stuff." Then I came back in December to film. I was on the set, and the producer brought this guy over, and he said, "Suzi, I want you to meet this guy. He's going to be making your clothes for the show." It was Nudie, Elvis's personal tailor.
Wow.
Then
Wow.
I wrote Singing with Angels, my tribute to him. You can Google that. There's a great video of that. I got in touch with James Burton and the Jordanaires, and they kind of went hemmed and hawed because they were inundated with tributes to him. They said, "Send the song." I did. 5 minutes later, I was in Nashville. We recorded the song. So that brings you right up to date. When we took a break on that recording, I gave James Burton headphones to hear my latest album that I was working on. And he listened for a while, then he took the headphones off and he said, "I have to tell you something, Suzi." I said, "What?" "You can knock me over with a feather." He said, "You have what Elvis had." I went, my mouth dropped to the ground.
Mhm.
I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "The only way I can explain it is that whatever you do, it's you."
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now my latest album is on Sun Records. So if I'd met Elvis, I would not have had this spiritual connection I have with him. So
Sure.
I think I did the right thing. But that's my Elvis epiphanies.
That's one of my earliest musical memories as well, is getting the newspaper that morning and seeing the king is dead.
You
Um,
never, you never forget where you were when you get that news, you know?
no, the next one, of course, was John Lennon in 1980 when that was on the paper as well.
Things you don't forget.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned Happy Days. When you auditioned for that, weren't you up for? Wasn't Debbie Harry and Joan Jett up for the same role?
Only Debbie. And she wasn't up for it. They had called my ex-publicist in America,
Mhm.
and they said, "We're thinking of Debbie Harry or Suzi Quatro."
Mhm.
And he said, that part is not like Debbie at all, what you've described to me, but it's exactly like Suzi Quatro. So then they got in touch with me in on tour in Japan, and I
Yeah.
flew over.
Okay. Dave Thompson of All Music said of your debut record, quoting now, that remains one of the most nakedly sexual albums of the entire glam rock epoch. To what extent would you agree with him? I suspect you don't.
You know what? If it's sexual, it's not because I was trying to be sexy.
Hmm.
And I have asked so many people this question when we've had late night drinks after a show, other famous musicians, and I've always said, first of all, do I look like a girl who's trying to show you that a girl can do it? They said no. I said, did I look like I was trying to be sexy? And they always say no. So that, and it was quite innocent sex appeal, actually. I didn't even know that the jumpsuit was sexy until I saw the photos. I had no idea. I
Yeah,
just thought it was a sensible idea. But rock and roll is sexual anyway, just by the nature of it. It's a
yeah,
sexual music because it's a let your hair down, feel the beat, go crazy. That's it's a frenzy.
yeah,
Rock and roll is a frenzy.
yeah, absolutely. Did you have any meetings with David Bowie during that whole era, shall we say? And how did you feel about the Ziggy thing at the time?
I thought he was excellent the first time I saw him. He's unusual, inventive,
Yeah,
one of a kind, you know. Yeah, I liked him a lot. He was very, very clever writer and very charismatic performer. I liked him a lot.
yeah, yeah. Iggy Pop says that Bowie was one of the most generous artists as well. He often gave songs away and things like that, which is
Yeah, nice guy, nice guy. And of course, Iggy Pop comes from Detroit, so I know him very well.
yeah, yeah. The track Angel Flight is a bit of an epic. Why was it not included on the second album?
We had just brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We had the record company, Rack had all the people from Germany over one day, and
Mhm.
they were playing them tracks from the forthcoming album. And
Wow.
when they heard that, Mickey saw them go, "Oh, that's not Suzi Quatro." So Mickey got nervous to put it out. But it found, it came to the light of day when it should have. But I think if that would have come out when it was supposed to, it would have changed people's perception of who Suzi Quatro was
Right. Okay.
right before its time.
Right. Okay. Um, you were actually, if my notes are right, you were actually on the Alice Cooper's Welcome to My Nightmare tour. Were you the support act on that tour?
Well, yes, I was a special guest.
Okay.
Um, 80 shows. Oh my God Almighty. It was Welcome to My Nightmare. It went on forever, forever. But it was really good because there was a lot of Detroit musicians on it. So it was visiting with old friends. And I've known Alice forever. So we had a good time.
Yeah. Has he forgiven you for breaking his nose?
He should not have stuck his nose out from behind the television when we were having a dart gun fight. And I'm a good shot.
So
Point
that's what happened. It was a dark gunfight, and
dart gun fight. It was in the hallway. We had mattresses out. Everybody was going a little bit crazy. And he peeked out and I went pop, boom, broke his nose, black eyes. And that night at the gig, he wore my t-shirt out of
Mhm.
respect.
So you covered the Kinks' "Tired of Waiting" on the hugely successful "If You Knew Susie" album. Why this Kinks number? And didn't you support them in the early '70s?
Yes, I had a gig. Mickey put me on stage. I was on for about 20 minutes or so, Bertha, and then the Kinks. I like this particular song. This is part of my youth. I was a 60s teenager, so I was a Kinks fan anyway. And
Yeah,
this one I particularly liked. It suits my voice.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. The Davis brothers are famously always fighting, aren't they? There was a troubled relationship. Did you witness anything like that?
I didn't, but I have a friend of mine who I've written before in the past with. I did my Tallulah Who with her. Um, and she was one of their singers when they went through their theatrical thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she said they did fight all the time. I didn't see it, but they did fight all the time. So they're just one of those kind of like the Gallagher boys. It's
yeah.
a shame.
It is a shame because I was always hoping for a Kinks reunion for the 50th anniversary tour, and of course nothing happened. But they don't seem to want to get together at all, unfortunately. I have actually only one more question for you, and that is, you were a huge influence on Chrissie Hynde, Joan Jett, to name but a few. Are you the living embodiment of girl power?
Well, I didn't have a role model. Can we put it that way? So I was lucky in the way that I didn't fit anywhere. I say this was my passport to success because I didn't fit anywhere, and it was like in the family, and whatever music was going. That's not me. That's not me. That I didn't fit. So when you don't fit, you create your own niche, and that's what I did. And I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I didn't belong anywhere else but where I was going,
Yeah.
and luckily that made it. And on my documentary, I never realized it until I watched my documentary in 2019. I was at the first premiere at the Regents Theater,
Mhm.
and I snuck in because I wanted to both see it with the audience and see it on the big screen. So I snuck in. I was booked for the Q&A at the end, but I wanted to see it. And so up comes Debbie Harry, Chrissie Hynde, Joan Jett, Lita Ford, Sherry Curry, Danita Sparks, Kathy Valentine, Tina Way. And they all, when you paraphrase, they all said basically the same thing, that they would not have done what they did had I not done it first. And that was the first time that I really realized what I had done. And I started to cry because
Wow.
it affected me. It affected me. And yeah, I just didn't get it, but isn't that great? I didn't have an agenda. So this show, I think that's why it happened to me, because I didn't know I was doing it. It wasn't manufactured. But the next day, just a punchline, I called my friend Cherie Curry, who's become a friend of mine, and I told her the story.
Mhm.
And I said to her, she said she's in California. We're talking on the phone. And I said, you know, I just realized something. She said, what? I said that by me doing what I did, I gave permission to women all over the world to be different. And there was a long pause, and she went, and you just got that? I said, yeah. It's a great line, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So now I know it, and I humbly accept it. I have to, and I take that to my grave.
yeah.
Thank you.
Anyway, I'll reiterate what I said at the start of this interview. It's a wonderful album. It's out now. You can the purchasing links are just below this video. I do encourage you to check it out. Susie, thank you so much for taking the time to have this brief chat with me. You
And
have
thank
a great day.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all the best. Bye bye.
Bye bye. See you.
See you.